And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of the land. I am your host, Ethan Greenberg, along with my co-host, Mike Rasinski. And joining us this evening, special guest is Alyssa. You might know her. She's she's everywhere. Cleveland Guardians baseball fan. And Mike just jumped out, and now he's jumping back in. So we're going to get him going here. Okay, Mike, are you back with us? Mike,
Still
can you hear
can't
us?
hear.
Okay, we are having some technical difficulties. So let's talk here. So Alyssa, all right, let's see what is going on. Can you hear me, Alyssa?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, Mike can't hear me. Okay, let me write back to him. So Alyssa, talk to us here. You are the consummate, the Guardian aficionado, Lake County captain. You've got that all going on for you. But what have you thought so far of the season? And especially now post All-Star break for the Guardians.
Yeah, I'm very I don't want to say I'm like surprised because I knew we had to do better than last season. But I am pleasantly surprised that we are doing as well as we are. We have the highest ranking in the AL. We're second highest overall behind the Phillies. I'm just worried now with the trade deadline coming next week because it's very obvious that we do have holes in our roster when it comes to starting pitching and maybe like an outfield bat.
Yeah, it's been one of those things where I think that the team, as you said, kind of sort of surprising. I don't know about you, but going into the season, let's try and get Mike on here one more time. See if we can do it.
All right, I'm back.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yeah, it was a good old reset on the computer, and I think we're good now.
I love technology.
You gotta love that. Okay, so well, you know what? Let me give a proper introduction here. Alyssa is a special guest here tonight, and we're going to be talking to her, and I'm bringing her on, folks, to kind of talk to her. One, she is a huge Cleveland Guardians fan, Lake County Captains. She's big into the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Cavs, not the Browns, so much because she's a Bills fan.
Still on Lake Erie.
It's all good. It's all and we don't mind that. That is we're allowed to have differing opinions here and thoughts. So I was just talking to Alyssa, and we were starting to kind of just get into the Guardian season thus far, and kind of analyzing it. And you and I have talked about this, Mike, before, but Alyssa, I think it's fair that for many of us, we didn't exactly have high expectations for this season. Didn't know what to expect with Tito Francona retiring, having a new manager, and really we didn't replace a lot of the pieces and parts from last team's season. So, I mean, I guess for me it was very surprising how well they played so far through 100 games. Is it sustainable, Alyssa?
I would like to think so. But then again, like with our very obvious holes, we've worked so well this far. But even our best pitchers like Bybee and Lively, and even Williams still building back up, have not given us the innings that we want. And it's kind of tasked our bullpen a bit. And that's really what's been holding us together here. So I'm just fingers crossed that we make a good move here that will be beneficial for the team and help keep them together.
And Mike, we just saw here post All-Star break, we came out against San Diego and we had one good game, couple not so good games, and Detroit didn't look good in the first game of the series. Last night we came out and got a win. So far as I'm seeing, down 1-0 here in the second inning. But if the team is unable to make a consequential move going to the trade deadline, what do you think their ceiling is, Mike?
So I think the ceiling, I still think they can win the Central. My hope is if they don't make a trade, and obviously, like Alyssa said, I think starting pitching is really the real hole right now, that they've got enough of a cushion in the Central that they can be patient on McKenzie and Logan Allen in the minors that hopefully they can figure themselves out. And then if, they make it back in September, maybe mid-August to the big league club, and hopefully they're new pitchers by that point. And it's almost like getting a trade back for those guys if we can get their game improved down in Columbus. It's a big if, and it may not happen, but because we have the lead now, I think we're able to send those two guys down to let them work out some things. So I think even if we don't make a big trade, that would be the ceiling. And that's what I would hope for.
And then there's always Matthew Boyd, who's scheduled to come back sometime in August.
Mm-hmm.
Good point. Definitely a good point. And we really need hope he can somebody in the pitching staff. We've seen hitters come up and position players and provide a spark. It would be nice if we could see a pitcher come in and really help out that starting rotation, because right now it has been it's certainly been a struggle. And I don't know. I was gonna say, or had thought at one point, it was that certain teams seem to have our number. Detroit seems to have our number. Chicago seems to have our number. But now it seems like it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's pushing beyond just those opponents. So there is a lot of baseball left to play, 62 games, and hopefully they can keep things going here. And we'll come back. Let's come back around to the Guardians here. So, Alyssa, I brought you on, along with the Guardians talk, also to talk about the upcoming Summer Olympics in Paris. The games got underway today, as we were just starting to talk here a little bit before the show. The rugby and the football, or the soccer, and you said something, and so the U.S. Soccer team did not fare so well against France, but you were mentioning that you're rooting for France. So now tell me again, what is your background, your French background?
Yeah, I'm Franco-American. I'm not myself from France. I wasn't born in France, but I have family ancestry there. And then when it comes to football, especially, I've never been able to really get into soccer. 2018 France team pulls around, and I just fell in love. So whenever they're on, that's my team. So today when they're playing, I'm like, listen, I'm going to be all USA, USA through the entire Olympics, but right here, go France.
And I think that's quite fair. I mean, my dad is from England, and so when it comes down to it, I'm always going to be rooting for England, especially in football, in soccer. And it's kind of one of those things where I don't even see the U.S. at this point, unfortunately, on the same playing field, level playing field as the Englands, the Frances, the other teams of the world. So I don't feel too guilty about that. Alyssa, you have been doing some writing, covering different various aspects about the upcoming Olympics, specifically some of the women's sports and what we should be watching. And folks, if you want to read Alyssa's stuff, she is on it's sportsgirlsclub.com.
Should be right. It's all if you follow me on Twitter at Alyssa216, I have all my articles linked in my bio.
And I read those, and excellent work there. Excellent work. So and also to further it, for people who don't know your background, you did gymnastics for quite a while. How long were you involved in gymnastics?
I did gymnastics from when I was 2 until I was 15 when I medically retired. And I competed, I want to say, around 8 to 10 seasons, somewhere around there.
Wow. I mean, that's quite a commitment. Were you at the point when you were doing all the competitions? Were you having to travel? Did you stay? Did you go to one of these places where you stayed there and trained and that sort of thing, or was it more so, hey, my parents got to caravan me all over the place?
It would depend on the meet. During the regular season, it was always traveling, usually to meets in Ohio. I had some in Michigan. I always went to one in Erie, things like that. For the state competition, and I won 3 state titles. It's my little humble brag. I would go to a different part of the state and just compete there. I wouldn't train. And then during regionals, if I qualified, which I did a couple of times, I would not be representing my club team. I would be representing the state of Ohio, which is pretty cool. So we got like our own like state of Ohio gear that we would then travel to different states to compete in. One time it was just at Bowling Green, and another time it was in Illinois. And then I won the regional beam runner-up title. So I had like my own medal for the state of Ohio, which is pretty cool.
That is amazing. That's quite the I can't even come up with the right words. I'm having a brain fart here tonight. I don't know what's wrong with me. I might be tired. That could be the case. So you won a medal on beam. Was that your best event apparatus?
My best event was bars. I won the state title in bars, vault, and the all around in 2017. And then that was the same year that I won the beam runner up title for regionals.
Oh, wow. Now, I think that all of sports in general they've kind of evolved and changed throughout time. Whether you're talking about we lost Mike. Whether you're talking about nutrition, whether you're talking about training, all of those sorts of things. And I was just wondering, how much has gymnastics changed from the time that when you started, when you finished, and where things are at now? How much of that has changed?
Yeah, so I'm even thinking about that, just seeing videos being posted today. I know like my coaches, and granted I was in a pretty toxic environment, but they didn't monitor our eating. They definitely like encouraged healthy eating, and like you really didn't feel comfortable like talking about like what you ate and stuff like that. It was definitely difficult growing up in that. But as far as like the elite stage, like with the Olympic gymnasts, we're seeing this change in the entire culture. So a little bit of background: the Carolis were the coaches for a long time throughout USA Gymnastics, and they both retired in 2016. That was their last Olympics. There's a story in 2008. Sean Johnson said that the male swimmers would sneak the gymnasts like Snicker bars because they're only able to eat rice. So that's what it looked like during the Karoli era, so up until 2016. And now we see videos of our Olympic gymnasts going around the Olympic Village eating pizza, which is something you'd never see before. And I don't think it has any effect on their training at all. They all look happy, healthy, and like they want to be there, which is great.
Huh. That is very interesting. I mean, Mike, have you ever been in the situation or for whatever reason where you kind of had to follow strict diets and this and that and a very strict regimen?
not for training or anything like that. I was never that good of an athlete. The only time I've had restricted diet when I was in survival training and had to go in the woods for a week, and you like had to eat crickets and kill your own rabbits. So that is completely different than what Alyssa's talking about, but probably more enjoyable, let's say, than just eating rice every day.
Yeah. Well, are you allowed to put soy sauce in the rice? Can you spice it up at all, Alyssa?
They definitely weren't able to.
All right, that's just foul.
It was, those coaches were awful. And I just, like, looking back now at the 96 Olympics with Carrie Strug landing that ball on one leg, she didn't need to do that vault. The US already had their scores. And I just, like, she was forced to do that because, like, I don't know what the coaches would have done to her otherwise. So now, like, when Simone pulled out of the Olympics, I was like, wait, like, she could have seriously gotten hurt. That was the right thing to do. And it made me look at things like that a lot differently.
Yeah, and talk to me a little bit about that. I have that here. Simone Biles in the last Olympics, she did pull herself out, and she didn't participate in all, from the team, or at least partway through the team competition, and then didn't participate in all of the events she was scheduled to participate in at the last Olympic Games in Tokyo. But there was a lot of chatter about her and what was going on with her. And I've read in all the articles, the twisties. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation of what that is?
Yeah, and for better experience with like what went on with Simone, she has a documentary on Netflix now called Simone Biles Rising. It really gives her insight. The twisties are essentially the yips. That's the best way to explain it. So when you're twisting, you have to be very aware of where you are in the air, especially when she's doing a triple double back. She's flipping twice, twisting twice on the floor. That's one of her one of her signature skills. So Simone in Japan couldn't take ADHD medications, which definitely would have affected that. And she got the twisties, so she had no air awareness to be able to control the skills that she's doing. And she's also doing the hardest skills ever, and very well could have gotten her paralyzed worse on the skills she was doing if she did try to continue to do them.
Wow. So now you said she wasn't able to take her ADHD medications. And I wasn't familiar with all of this. So can you give me a little bit of a background, if you know, and possibly from watching the documentary or other sources, why was she not allowed to take the medication?
They were illegal in Japan.
Mm.
So yeah, they're on like a restricted medication list. Yeah. I would like to think it'd be different for like traveling for Olympics and stuff like that, but
Well,
it's not. And there's drama with Japanese gymnastics right now. So
oh, wow. See, I mean, wouldn't it make sense though that kind of like, hey, the IOC is the governing body over this, and wouldn't they have gotten some sort of an exemption?
yeah, I'm not sure. And just with the bans on Russia and all the substances that they've used, I don't even know how they like try to go about clearing something like that.
And you just brought something up, and Mike, feel free, any questions you have, anything you want to chime in on, please do so. Um, okay, I this has become a sensitive topic just in the world of sports, society as a whole. Where do you feel things are at or potentially at with regard to participation in sports by transgender athletes?
I believe that trans women are women, so I don't see a problem at all. I don't believe there are any trans women competing in the Olympics. I know there are some non-binary athletes, but I know that there are, if some people say like biological advances or something, there are some athletes, like Michael Phelps had something that would put him at a biological advantage anyway. So it's not just trans athletes.
Right. Do you think for women, though, like let's say you have, so I guess when we say it's a transgender woman, that means it was someone who was born a male with male genetics and is transitioned to female, or make sure we're on the same page, correct? Okay. So I know that generally it's and I shouldn't say I know that, I should say my understanding is that you might start to undergo treatment before puberty. Is that general or around that time such that you may not have, testosterone? Is that correct? For the
I'm not entirely sure.
and you see, I talk with my wife about this, Mike. I don't know if you ever talked to your wife about this or anything, but it's like interesting to talk about athletes and are there any competitive advantages for someone that was, born a male and has transitioned to female if they have any physical advantages over people who were born, with a woman's genetics.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think there's such few people that go through this that it's probably there's not a statistical enough people to have stats about this, reliable statistics. And I think it gets overblown a little bit, obviously, with today's politics, because um that's just where we are in society, but there's so few people actually doing it. I think it gets overblown, and kind of like what Alyssa said, um, the onesies and twosies that this does affect, I don't think it should affect any of the sports, not just the Olympics or gymnastics, any sport at all that much, because we're just I don't think anybody's taken away from anybody else by doing this, just for the ones and twos that are doing this, and like Alyssa said, I don't think any are in the Olympics, so doesn't seem like there's quite an advantage if nobody's, making it to the Olympics.
Right.
On a broader question too, if we just want to talk about like performance enhancing, well, drugs or supplements, um, what should be considered performance enhancing as well? For example, wearing glasses or contacts, that's performance enhancing, isn't it, to some degree? If you're a baseball player and you have something foreign on your body to help you see better so you can hit the ball better, or, for any sport, that is performance enhancing, right? But I guess that is not detrimental to your health, such as that like steroids or these banned drugs were. So there is a difference to that. But so I gave two extremes, but what should be allowed to be performance enhancing and legal, and where does the line drawn where it's not? Is is creatine okay? Is protein supplements okay? I get, I'm sure the line I think is drawn probably where it's adverse to your health and not, but I do think there's some gray area in all of that.
Alyssa, did you? Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it.
I'm just thinking about the whole fiasco in the 2022 Winter Olympics and figure skating. That was a whole thing, and my one roommate is very into figure skating, so we were always talking about this. I think, especially with that situation and many of these situations, the athlete involved was 15 years old, and she was a Russian athlete, so but she was forced by coaches. These coaches are like the only like people who are in charge of her, and she trusts them. But I know there are some. My issue is there's some substances that disqualified athletes from medals in previous Olympics that are now allowed, or they're not considered banned anymore. So the real gold medalist in the 2000 all around, she was stripped of her medal for using substance. It was like a cold medicine or something like that. It's not banned anymore, but they won't reinstate the medal. So that's the part that I'm the most confused with, is how do you decide what is and what isn't banned, and how do you suddenly decide that something isn't banned anymore?
Especially when, like you said, if Simone Biles can't take ADHD medicine, which is prescribed by a doctor, and probably has, I guess it is performance enhancing because it helps her concentrate, but not in the way you would think a banned substance should. So I
Right.
mean, you raised some really good points. Cough medicine or cold medicine.
Like, I'm asthmatic. I needed an inhaler when I was competing. Like, I wouldn't be able to survive without that.
Sure.
Well, right, and some of the asthma medications, don't those also have some steroids in them?
Yeah, there's actually, I
Like
want to say, I don't know.
bronchodilators or something?
Yeah, I don't know which discipline the French gymnast was in, but there's a French gymnast recently who is disqualified for some medication she was using for asthma. So
That's
I would
crazy.
assume, like, I've had steroid inhalers before, so I don't know if it was something like that.
It's absolutely crazy, and I mean, on our local level, for people who are Cleveland sports fans, think about Josh Gordon and the fact that he kept getting suspended by the NFL for smoking marijuana. Now that's not a problem. I mean, he had a lot of issues. Let's not, try and cover that up there, push that to the side. He had other issues going on, but still, fact remains that he was doing that, and I mean, he was still performing at a very high level, which was crazy. But he lost his ability to play in the NFL because of at that point, the current rules on marijuana. Um, so kind of taking a look here at the sport of Olympics, not specifically this game, but these games, I should say. The Dr. Larry Nasser fiasco. How much does that weigh on or impact, I guess, people as they look at women's gymnastics, whether it be here or otherwise, where you might go, you've got these young ladies, and young, whether it be the men, if they're young men, and whomever it is, but what kind of a predator does this type of thing, and does that put a stain on programs like these?
Yeah, so this quad and last quad, Simone Biles was the only athlete on the team who experienced that. So we are now in a generation where none of the US gymnasts have been harmed, at least like that. So it's definitely, I would say it definitely has a stain because it showed that Nasser was, involved with the team, but also the Karolis who employed him definitely knew that's what was going on, especially when they didn't allow parents to come into practices or anything, and really showed that they prioritize medals over these young girls, children, over their own entire being. So I think it definitely shed on light on what the sport is really like because we all knew it was very taxing physically when girls were usually retiring like 16 to 19 in their teens, and now you have a lot of gymnasts who are competing well into their 20s. But it really opened up talking about what the culture in gymnastics is really like. And I know, hearing others talk, it made me come to terms with the emotional abuse that I faced. I didn't face anything physically. I mean, I do have like long lasting injuries, but like the abuse I faced was all very emotional. So I think, it really opened up for gymnasts to feel like they were less alone in the abuse that they're experiencing, and also coming to a point where we can normalize that that is not normal. We need to have a better environment, be more open, even just have fun with the sport.
Now, Alyssa, if you were to have a child, a daughter, a son, whatever, I mean, would you have any kind of not issues, but hesitation allowing them to participate in gymnastics? Or even another sport where it takes so much time and effort uh, and dedication.
Yeah, I would definitely want to know what the environment that they're being coached in is like. Like again, I was in a space where like parents didn't come to practices, and it was just the norm to be yelled at in practice. So I definitely want to be like very active in that and very understanding to the situation. Also highlight like, hey, if you're not happy about something after practice, like let's talk about it, because like yelling at children is not something that should be normalized in sports.
Now, Alyssa, if you don't mind me jumping in. So you're obviously a very accomplished gymnast. Now, did you do other sports growing up too, or did you like solely focus on gymnastics growing up?
Yeah, so when I was very little, I did like swim practices and ballet, and then I was doing gymnastics and t-ball, and I was doing cartwheels in the outfield. So then gymnastics is what I stuck with. And then when I was going into high school, a lot of gymnasts will go into pole vaulting and diving. The track coach found out that I was a gymnast, so he recruited me, and I ended up doing pole vaulting while I was in high school. So I had a year of overlap, and then I retired from gymnastics and continued pole vaulting through my senior year. And really, the environment in track was so different. And like my coaches were like, like you're gonna have off days. It's fine. Some meets you're not gonna do as good as the last, and very understanding with my physical issues and everything like that. Because I have bad like knee and back issues, but they were very welcoming and accepting, and like I could actually go and talk to them and they would understand. So it was definitely nice that, coming out of gymnastics, then I did have a sport where I felt very comfortable to be in.
Yeah, and the reason I ask, and sorry, Ethan, for jumping
Go
in
ahead,
here,
go ahead.
was I'm always curious as to parents' perspectives on, do you solely focus on your kid playing one sport and getting really good at that sport because that's kind of what you have to do nowadays, or is it better just to let them be well-rounded, play a bunch of different sports, and maybe they're not going to excel at any of them because they're kind of just really good at all of them, but they might not make high school teams because of that, but they're having fun. My personal opinion is I think I'd rather have the kids have fun and just try a little bit of everything. Sounds like you kind of did that too as well, and it was good that you got the experience of not, you got to focus on one sport, but you also got the experience of trying something different, and you could compare and contrast and take the good and the bad and see how kind of like pole vaulting and track was different than gymnastics, and maybe a different kind of enjoyment. So is just interesting to get your perspective on that too, if you think that was a good way to go for you, and if that's what you would, if you had son or daughter one day, which way you would go?
Yeah, I definitely want them to just have fun with it, and I have no regrets with my sports experience. I definitely like that my parents let me dabble in a couple of different sports growing up and then just, pick one that I like the best. And obviously, if I'm doing cartwheels in the outfield, then I'm gonna pick gymnastics, and something's never changed because I did a cartwheel in the pitcher's mound with the captains. So it's a little cool full circle moment, but now also I get to have a lot of fun watching professional sports, and now I have this new relationship with gymnastics, writing about it. So it's really fun just being well-rounded and everything.
That is excellent. You mentioned pole vaulting, and so I was looking online and trying to make the connection here a little bit to our Cleveland centric show here in Northeast Ohio. So I saw three different, or well, two specific athletes, one of which is Katie Moon from Olmsted Falls in the pole vault for the United States. She won gold in Tokyo. Have you watched her, and what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so when I started pole vault, my coach was from the area. He's from North Olmsted. His older sister competed against Katie Najat at the time, her maiden name. And he was like, "Watch Katie Najat. She's really good. She's going to be going to the next Olympics." So I watched her, leading up to the 2020 Olympics. So it's really cool actually watching her and watching her bring home the gold. There's an infamous video of her yelling, "Cleveland, this is for you," after she wins. I love her. And then last month, I went to her Katie Moon pole vault invitational or pole vault classic. It was her first, like, I hope it's an annual meet, but it was her first meet back at Olmsted Falls. So I got to watch a bunch of Olympic caliber pole vaulters come to Olmsted Falls and compete. And it was an actual meet and talk to them afterwards. I got to meet Katie finally. So it's so cool, like watching my favorite pole vaulter during my pole vault career and like then being able to write about her.
That is amazing. Now I'm sure you're on a first name basis. You've exchanged contacts with her, so you can send her all your positive vibes while she's in Paris, right?
We're not, I wouldn't say like I could just like reach out and be like, "Hey Katie," but I'll definitely like tweet it out there because I definitely, having a big Cleveland following, I definitely want to be like, "Hey, like tune in at this time. Let's all go cheer Katie on."
Definitely. And then another Cleveland athlete participating, a female athlete participating in the Olympics is Morel McCain, a boxer. It's her first Olympics. So, we've got some hometown heroes to root for. And I don't know, that gives me something more to watch. And speaking of something more to watch, what do we think here? LeBron getting the honor to be one of the athletes to carry the flag, for the United States. Mike, what did you think when you saw that announcement?
I thought it was great. Great way to honor, arguably the best basketball player in the world, and he's already brought gold to Team USA once, and hopefully he can do it again. And the way he's been playing in these exhibition games too, it looks like he deserves to carry it.
Yeah, and Alyssa, I know you follow the Cavs. You go to the Cavs games. Um, what are your thoughts about LeBron? Although he's not here anymore physically in with Cleveland, he's getting to carry the flag. Did you have any initial thoughts and reactions when you saw that headline?
I think it's really cool that we have a Northeast Ohioan carrying the flag because he's going to be the first to get those honors. Um, I mean, I kind of wanted someone who's in a more in a sport that really we only get to see during the Olympics. But still, if you're going to pick like a great notable athlete to carry it, I think he's a good one to do it. And then Coco Gauff is going to be carrying it for the
Yes,
women's.
yes, that'll be excellent. So, as we watch the other, first of all, let's talk the United States as a whole. And as we're watching the events, specifically, you've written a lot about, as I said, you've written about the women's events and what to look for. What what sports, what events are you looking forward to most? I assume gymnastics is one, but like what would 1A be?
Um, I would go like outside of gymnastics and track and field because I feel like those are my given. I get very into swimming during the Olympics, obviously with Katie Ledecky, but just
Right.
with how fast some of these like races are, I get a good adrenaline rush out of it.
Nice. Now, so you like you're not talking about, you have in your article, you wrote about artistic swimming or what we used to know as the synchronized swimming.
Yes.
Um, I'll tell you what, and let me tell you, it's like kind of the contrast to what you're saying. One of my least favorite things are sports with judging, like diving.
I
And
will
quite
never understand it. I'll be like, that one looked really good. And they'll be like 4. And I'm like, I thought that was clean.
exactly. Okay, good. I'm glad that somebody who has a better appreciation for these things is kind of along the same wavelength. I don't know, Mike. Do you have a favorite or least favorite sport that you watch during the Summer Olympics?
Well, I'm gonna be is flag football, is that this year or is that next Olympics?
2028.
Okay. That's gonna be my new favorite, I think, just because it's gonna be just intriguing to see how they do that with what athletes play and how they're gonna do it. It's just we don't see that a lot here well, I don't think anywhere around the world they see flag football that much. So I think that's gonna be intriguing. Um, as far as this Olympics, I guess sticking on the swimming sport, I want to see all the swimmers swim in the river, the Seine River. I'm probably saying it wrong.
La
The river that goes
Seine.
Seine, because I guess it's been outlawed to swim in that river for over a century, and they're finally they've cleaned it up enough, so it'll be kind of historic just to let them jump in and have those races there too. So I think that's just going to be a neat thing to see.
Yeah, in the opening ceremony, coverage starts on NBC and Peacock at noon on Friday. It actually begins at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. They're actually, instead of having everybody march into an arena like they usually do, this is the first Olympic ceremony that will be outside. So all the countries are going to have boats and be floating down the sun.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now I'm definitely going to have to watch. I mean, I watched the opening games in London because I wanted to see Rowan Atkinson, aka Mr. Bean, perform, and that was phenomenal. That was amazing. I'm a huge Mr. Bean guy, so I had, that was kind of special to me. So we'll see how that goes there. But again, kind of thinking about along the lines of the gymnastics team, other than Simone Biles. So, like you talked about when you see kind of the ascension of different gymnasts, one that goes in as a favorite, and then they kind of slowly come down as somebody else jumps over top of them, no pun intended. But like going into, I believe it might have been way back when, like the 92 Olympics or whatever. Was it Kim Zemeskel?
Yes.
Right. And she went into it as like the hands-on favorite. And that's where Carrie Strug outdid her. Am I remembering this correctly?
That sounds right.
Yes. All right. I'll just lie my way through it. It's not a lie if you believe it. So, no. So, who might be we want to focus the tongue tied? Who might we want to focus on besides Simone Biles that could come out of the shadows and surprise us all from the United States or another country?
Yeah, so the top 2 teams are going to be United States and Brazil. They were the top 2 in Worlds, and France was the bronze medalist. I think Italy and China are definitely in the running there for the team. When it comes to individuals, obviously you have Simone Biles in her redemption era, but also Rebecca Andrade of Brazil. She is going to go into her 3rd Olympics as well. And she won the silver in the all around last Olympics, which was Brazil's first medal in women's gymnastics. And she won the gold on vault that year. So she's going to be Simone's biggest competitor in the all around vault and floor. And even though, like, they're like rivals. Like I think it's fair to call them that. I think it's a very positive thing for the sport because Simone's difficulty has definitely changed the sport a lot. But they both make each other better gymnasts and definitely have like a good rapport with each other.
Wow. Okay, so let's ask the question here. I heard this conversation on Sports Talk Radio, and it was a discussion over what do you see as more important, winning the medal count for your country, or in our case, or let's say the Guardians winning a World Series? Which would be more exciting for you? Alyssa, you're the guest. Ladies first. Let's let you weigh in on that.
So are we talking like the U.S. women's gymnast team winning gold or the Guardians winning the World Series, or like?
I'm saying the United States winning the overall medal count in the Winter Olympics, Summer Olympics versus per se like our baseball team winning the championship.
Yeah, so I think Olympic medals are very cool, very cool accomplishment. But I think like the USA puts too much pressure on the gold, and it feels like the silver and bronze usually gets lost a lot. I hope as long as the athletes are having fun, I don't care what medals, if they win medals, what they bring home, I would like a World Series.
I appreciate that, Mike. Where do you stand on this?
Yeah, I've also got to go with the World Series too. I think the U.S. has probably won the medal count. I don't know, countless number of times. We have the best training facilities, the best athletes for a lot of the sport. So it's not a big surprise when we win the medal count. It's fun. It'd be a big surprise if the Guardians won the World Series.
Right. And I'm with both of you. I just want to. It was a topic I had heard on local radio, and I thought I would, let us kind of venture down that road a little bit quickly there. All right. So the Olympics, they're coming up. That's great. You are on your way to being to receiving your undergraduate, correct?
Mhm.
At Baldwin Wallace.
Yes, this December.
That is fantastic. And last summer you were interning for Paramount, correct?
Yes.
All right. So are you looking forward to graduation? Are you, what do you got planned coming up here after post-graduation?
Yeah, I'm very excited and nervous, feeling all the emotions. I'm still working with Paramount, so I've done a couple of films over the summer, which has been very cool, as well as my internship as the Olympic sports writer. I'm hoping to continue covering women's sports this fall, so fingers crossed, just send in my information for that. Um, I'm hoping, at least right now, to stay local, especially with all the filming that's come to Cleveland with like Superman and all that. So I'm hoping to make a bigger film scene in Cleveland. I just think that'd be really cool. So whether it's working with the Cleveland International Film Festival or the Cleveland Film Commission.
Wow. Well, Mike, you were was in town, and he got to brought his kids in as they were, with all the Superman filming going on. So I missed that, but
Yeah, very cool. If you get some more films in and you ever get to go directing, don't forget about Ethan and I. We'll be extras in your film anytime.
I'll give a call.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of funny, Alyssa. You talked about when you're doing cartwheels in the field and the natural transition to going into gymnastics. I was busy having a spitting contest at second base with my best friend. I don't know how talking what that has to do with it, but clearly playing the game was not my strong suit. And speaking of that, on a totally different note, did you guys watch we talked about the home run derby last week, Mike, but Alyssa, did you watch it? And how impressive is it? The kids in the outfield catching those fly balls. I couldn't do that.
All I remember is last year Vlad drilling some kid in the head and then going on to win it.
Oh boy. Oh my. So, all right. So let's get down to, business here. The Guardians right now trailing 1-0, top of the fifth. We've got one hit. And to quote the great Bob Uecker in Major League, we got one GD hit. We got one GD hit. That's it. You can't say that on the air. Doesn't matter. Nobody's listening. I mean, they're finally, it seems crazy. Is this not like deja vu all over again? Where the nights we get good pitching, we've got no hitting. The nights we get hitting, we've got no pitching. Am I going back in time to last year, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think the most disappointing part has actually been the hitting, and it's our main guys that are letting us down lately. And it just seems like they're all in a slump at the same time. The Ramirez's, the Kwans, the Nailers, all of them are doing nothing this month, unfortunately. I'm just looking at some stats here. Our pitching, for example, our ERA in June was 3.90. Our ERA in July as a team is 4.10. So not a huge difference. But and still got like was it 7 more games to play in July till that's over with. But you're looking at the batting overall, we've only scored 62 runs in July as a team. In June, we scored 114, and we only have 7 more games to go, and that's a huge disparity. Home runs, 31 in June, 17 in July. So our power has been lacking. I think that's it. There's no clutch hitting. We've gotten shut out 4 of our last 11 games, I think, and 2 of them we only scored 1 run. So I'm hoping it's just a slump that they'll work themselves out of. And we've seen it in the past. No team ever goes through a season without some slump. I just hope it's not a case where they've kind of reached their ceiling and now we've got the Twins coming out of nowhere to catch us. But we'll see.
We shall see. And Alyssa, you were there last night at the game. You were there.
I wasn't. I
Wait,
was
I
at
thought you were.
Mondays.
Oh no, I thought you were at last night's game too. I am sorry. Well,
No.
yeah, that was no bueno.
I went to Detroit the day that we
That's
lost
right.
10-1 and Austin Hedges came out to pitch.
Oh my goodness.
Best
Hey,
pitcher of the night.
there you go. And you know what? And I missed this earlier, but when we started out the show, we were talking about it. Our friend Taven, Ducks fan 100, he commented on what the Guardians should do before the trade deadline. He said make a trade for a starter, trade Martinez, Noel Arias, and Will Dion. Now I'm not familiar with him, and get Garrett Crochet. I don't know if you go all in and trade all your prospects or not at this juncture, and so. Kind of along those lines, Alyssa, this is something I wanted to ask you about because I know I guess it was kind of a pet peeve of yours. You did not like the local media coverage last year at the trade deadline when the team decided to not add players, rather they subtracted, even though they were right there in the AL Central race, getting rid of Savale and Franmil Reyes, etc. I mean, do you think at all, though, we definitely should be all in this year. It's a different season. But how much do you think that last year those moves that were made, whether they were right or not at that moment, how do you think that played out in the locker room and the impact on the team, at least immediately after?
Yeah, so I know we traded Josh Bell and Aaron Savali last year, both for prospects, one being Kyle Manzardo.
Right.
I know at least for the team, immediately it was just kind of rough because Aaron Savali was a good clubhouse guy and close to all of them, playing with them for several years. I just had the issue when local media was deciding to say that the Guardians were purposely getting no hit by the Astros, and also that Josh Naylor was faking an injury because Aaron Savali was traded. When then he was out for like a month with an oblique injury. I just thought it was like inappropriate to paint one of our franchise players like that.
Yeah, and I did not, and I said for whatever reason I said Franmil Reyes, but it should have been named Josh Bell. But yeah, I did not remember the issue with the Josh Naylor thing. I did know that. I mean, from the best I could understand it, at least, and I don't remember all that was said when that happened. First of all, it was hilarious. I posted on Twitter because you were talking about Kyle Manzardo. He got his jersey. My man, so Emmett Golden over at ESPN Cleveland, he's hilarious because he was ticked when they made the trades. And the funniest thing he does, he's like, I was told that they didn't have a chance to win, so forget about it. So he was like going all in. And so this season he was like, I want Manzardo because that's what we traded for. And so it's just been the funniest thing. And Mike, I know you don't get to, you're busy working and I'm sitting here and I'm a lazy oaf and I can listen to the Cleveland Sports Radio online, but it was to me, that cracked me up, but it was awesome though to see Kyle Manzardo earlier this season. Is he going to be back? What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I hope so. So the other thing I think we need to fix besides starting pitching is our shortstop situation, because
someone's got to get traded there.
Absolutely. Arias, Rocchio, it's not working out. So there's a couple options I think they have. You have Angel Martinez, who's playing outfield right now. He could come in. He's actually been a natural infielder. He could play shortstop. He seems like he's legit, and you move Freeman back to center field. Or you bring up somebody like Jose Tena, who I've got the Clipper stats up right now, 17 home runs, 291 average. He hasn't really gotten a shot yet at the big league level.
Right.
Or like you said, Manzardo, you bring him up. He's more of a first baseman DH, but that can have some more pop in the lineup. It doesn't fix your shortstop situation, but there's some stat that like 85% of the folks that get brought up to the big leagues eventually go back down to the minors at some point. So it's not a huge surprise. And since he's been back in Columbus, he's hit 13 home runs, batting .279. So he didn't forget how to hit once he went back down. So I think we still have some options there, and we need to try some of that to at least fix our shortstop situation.
Yeah, another option would be moving Andres Jimenez over to put Juan Brito at second. Defense isn't his strong suit. My problem with that, though, is I don't think just in the middle of the season they are going to move Himi over. And I feel like at this point, if Tena and Brito haven't come up yet, I feel like they might be part of a trade.
Oh, that would be interesting. Mm-hmm. So as we start to talk about some of our prospects, a list, our number one draft pick, Travis Bazinga, he's going to be going bananas for his Bazanas. He's going to be at Lake County, and from what I read, he's going to make his debut on Friday. When are you getting down to see him?
I'm going as soon as possible. So I believe their series begins next Wednesday, I want to say. I'll be in Cleveland next Friday. I will be in Lake County for sure that Saturday. But if he's debuting sooner than that, I will be there.
That is amazing. Now, have you had a chance to go to Lake County and sit in the Roto-Rooter seats?
The toilet row?
Yeah, the toilet row. Have you been there? Have you sat in the toilets?
I have not.
I don't know. I can't, in all the articles. Mike, did you read the article about the toilet seat row?
No, this is new to me, but I'm very curious now.
They look, obviously, I'm sure the seats are not like literal toilet seats, but it's literally a commode. And it's got things for I don't know what, cup holders and this, that, and the other, this whole front row. It's a whole promotion. It's crazy what they're doing there. But I think about do I really want to sit on the toilet? It's at the ball game,
I'm kind of thinking of sitting there just to take a picture and meme it. But I'm I really have to think about this one.
Yeah, I just looked it up. This looks very interesting. I think you need to check this out. 100% you need to do this.
Well, isn't it kind of interesting, though, that the minor leagues, and I would say to an extent, the Guardians, they do a fantastic job of this. They have figured out a way to not only make it about the game, they've made it entertaining and interactive and kind of fun. I talked to, last year we had their play-by-play guy on. It's Logan Petoskey. And he was talking about all the different foods they have there. I haven't been to a Lake County Captains game since I moved from Ohio in 2003. Alyssa, you've obviously been there more often. Have you partaken in whatever the deliciousness grub there?
They have funnel cake there, which they do not have at Progressive Field, at least not that I found. I always get funnel cake when I'm there, and they have a sponsorship with Crumble Cookie, so you can go get a Crumble Cookie while you're there.
That is definitely good. Especially compared to what you think of when you think of old baseball stadiums and back in the day, the concessions, which were simply like maybe a hot dog, a hamburger, soft pretzel, nachos, popcorn, and like Cracker Jack, and that might be it. Oh, wait a second, Mike. Wait, well, let's break in here. Do we have some update on the Guardians?
Yeah, we scored a run finally in the 5th inning.
My broadcast is so far behind.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. First of all, Mike, appreciate that. But yeah, I was trying to. I could not find the right ESPN Baseball Tonight sound effect to drop in there. I was ticked off. I was really ticked.
You should
But
do the Mario coin thing. That's what they do at the
I
stadium.
know. But did you see? If GVR's listening, because they should, and they need to, sponsor this program. I'm a huge GVR guy. I just got this. They are out. They are out of this shirt. The Power Up shirt is out. Whatever the distributor is, they don't. I don't know how this is possible. So I don't even know how to begin to explain it. Somehow they're out of this color T-shirt. Are you not getting more in? Is this a supply and demand thing? I don't know. But yeah, so all right, so Guardians on the board at the end of 5. We are tied at 1, so that is good. If we can somehow hang on and get this victory, because today earlier the Twins defeated the Phillies and the Guardians. We've got that weekend series coming up in Philadelphia. How worried should we be? Mike, have you looked at the matchup? Alyssa, have you looked at the matchups?
I'm kind of scared to look at the matchup.
Yeah, it'll be a good test. It's on the road against the best team, so I don't know. 1 win? I don't know. Would you consider that accept? I'll actually be at Friday's game, by the way. We're traveling up to Philly to see it, so I hope not to get harassed too much because I'll be decked out in Guards gear. But I don't know. Would you consider 1 win, 1 out of 3 a success, or do they need to win the series? 2 out of 3.
We haven't been swept yet, so I'll always take at least 1. That's what we did in Atlanta. If we could win this series, that would be great. We're rolling out with Lively, Carrasco, and Curry, unless there's a McKenzie, LTA, or Cantillo call up.
Oh. So Lively is our best chance.
Yeah, and that's Friday.
It's going to be dead or a Lively.
Oh, boy.
Did that one go over your head, Alyssa? A little too old?
Yeah.
Bon Jovi, Dead or Alive. Is that familiar at all?
I have heard it.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's going right into my I'm too old for this routine here. So let me ask you guys this, and as we're kind of coming here toward a close. First of all, I do love John Kenzie Noel. I just want to say that guy is fantastic. I mean, Big Christmas. I mean, he's got a great nickname too,
right?
and he can tear the cover off the ball, and he can hit it a ton. He's probably a power hitter we haven't had in a long time. I'm not sure what the funk is with Naylor right now, but man, I just look at John Kenzie Noel and I'm like, that's a bona fide power hitter. If we can get him in the lineup consistently, hopefully he can be consistent. Is the bottom line there. If we had to get one player or one acquisition at the trade deadline, I'll let you guys both answer this. Do you want to go pitcher or hitter? And if you go with pitching help, do you go and you had to choose that? You were like, okay, I can choose one or the other. A mediocre starter or a solid reliever? Alyssa, I'll let you go first.
Yes, so my sister is a big Blue Jays fan, and so I've been bringing up trades to her as if she will accept it and that'll make it work. I think I would prefer to get a starter just because we do have a lot of batting. I'm sorry, I'm watching. It looks like Bibby's hurt. Oh, shoot.
Now we need the pitcher.
Yeah, so we definitely need a pitcher. I feel like we have a lot of good bats that have yet to debut or reach their full potential in our system, and I think that'll be good, especially next year. If we could have Manzardo, DeLauder, and Bazana all in that, that's my dream. So going to the Blue Jays, I would like to look at one of their starters, whether it's Chris Bassett or Yusei Kikuchi.
Okay. Okay. That was a mouthful there. Mike, what about you? Would you go, notwithstanding what might be going on here with Tanner Bybee, but hitter, pitcher, if it's a pitcher, do you go reliever or starter?
Yeah, so I actually agree with what Alyssa says, but I'll just play devil's advocate just for the fun of it here. That if we went with a more top of the line reliever, what's stopping us from doing some bullpen games? We have the best bullpen in the league. Maybe that's our fifth starter, is just doing a bullpen game, and getting a reliever that can maybe go 2 to 3 innings and just do that every 5 days. The Rays kind of patented that a few years ago, and it worked for them. So I don't know. And manager Vogt seems to be a creative guy, thinks outside the box, and maybe he can come up with a way to maximize our bullpen like that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting thought, and I kind of thought from my perspective, I'm thinking we've got to go with an arm. We've got to get an arm, and if we can't get a bona fide top level starter, I agree with you, Mike. Then it's got to be, I'd rather have a really, really strong reliever, maybe a good long reliever that could help us either do bullpen games or just whatever we need in the middle. Okay, Scott Barlow in, eh? Oh my, this could be interesting. This may push Cherney and Antonetti's, kind of make it a little bit tougher when they're trying to come to the table and the bargaining chips are not exactly there, but we shall see. Boy, well, this certainly makes things interesting here. And guys, quickly, Cavs thoughts on Evan Mobley extension. Mike, what are your thoughts there?
Awesome. I'm glad they got it done. Now we got the core four locked down for at least 3 years, maybe more, and hopefully, just having them grow together will help propel them in the future. Not even if we don't add extra pieces, we can't discount the fact that they're going to get better, or hopefully should get better, every year, and that may push us over the edge.
Alyssa, how excited were you to see the Evan Mobley contract extension?
I was so excited, and it came right after I was at an Awful Guardians game on Saturday night. So I was actually walking past the field house when the news dropped, and I was like, okay, at least we have this going. But I definitely echo with what Mike said, and I really hope that at least this year we can have a full, healthy season of all of our players playing together.
Yes, that would be fantastic. Well, Alyssa, you may recall this from your last trip in here, but we always like to share what has us going nuclear, things that are driving us nuts. Is there anything this week, this month, this year that has you going nuclear that you'd like to share?
I have people trying to explain Olympic events, particularly gymnastics, to me, as if I don't know what I'm talking about. So that has me going nuclear.
Absolutely. Oh my God. Yeah, that would not be good. Mike, can you share with us what has you going nuclear this week?
Sure, contract renegotiations. I'm glad Cooper got his money. He's not going to hold out. But for Pete's sake, you signed a contract. You're getting paid $20 million. Live up to it. You don't, just because somebody else signed a better contract, too bad. You can do that when yours is up.
I don't want to make any deals with your kids in your house. That's tough dealing right there.
If my kids end up making $20 million a year, then maybe we can let it slide.
Okay. All right. There you go. There it is. All right. Well, what has me going nuclear this week, Mike, I shared with you last week and we talked a little bit about, I think, video games and feeling old and so on and so forth. So we decided to go ahead and Jacob used his bar mitzvah money. He got the new Xbox and the EA Sports College Football 25. And what has me both feeling too old for this and going nuclear is this game. Okay. So, first of all, it's not just a matter of playing the game anymore. It's a whole ordeal. I mean, you're sitting there, you can control so many different variables. I'm playing Jacob, my 14-year-old Liz, and he's going to the line of scrimmage and he's changing up which way the receivers are going and what they're doing. And I'm like, I got no idea. I got no idea. I've managed to win a few games against him, but I think I've been lucky and he keeps playing. So he's only going to get better. I might have to buy my own Xbox just so I can keep up with him. But in addition to the fact that it's overly complicated, what has me going nuCLEar is the broadcasting, the play-by-play, the analysis. It is so bad. It's way off. They're making comments that are like Captain Obvious, horrible things that they could say. I'm like, Jesse Palmer, shut up. Kirk Herbstreit, shut up. Chris Fowler, shut up. I mean, it's terrible. It's like, okay, we need to go back to back in the day. And Mike, back in the Sega Genesis days here with Joe Montana Sports Talk Football. And it was very simple. There was no real analysis there. I think that worked out well for you. Or maybe you just go to NBA Jam, like, is it the shoes? The nail in the coffin. I mean, I think that would be good too. But yeah, video games today, EA Sports, college football 25, fantastic. Really, it is. But that is what has me going nuCLEar today. So, Alyssa, thank you so much for being on with us. We are going to be looking forward to your coverage of the Olympics, your continued writing. Again, folks, follow Alyssa on Twitter at Alyssa, ALYS216, as is on the screen. You can follow her. You can go into her bio or info. You can go to her links. It's sportsgirlsclub.com. You can find all of her articles. And again, always appreciate your insight and input. Love your reactions as you're attending and watching the Guardians games. That as I'm sure I've gone crazy about before, all the negative Nancy's out there is a bit frustrating to me, at least. But again, Alyssa, thank you so much for joining us here again. Mike, as always, glad to have you with us here. And we'll be looking forward to coming back. We'll be back in a couple of weeks here. Mike, have a good trip to Philadelphia. Be careful. And I guess get a good cheesesteak.
Absolutely. You know it. That'll be day one.
All right. Are you going whiz or are you going with the like the provolone or what our other cheese option?
I think we're gonna try multiple. I'll report back.
Yes, that's what I like. I'm a big Alyssa, you got a mission here. You're gonna have to maybe you need to travel around the ballparks and do food reviews for us.
I'm not like a big eater is my thing. Like I would love to do that, but yeah.
And you try out funnel cakes at every different ballpark.
I feel like they'd all be the same though.
Would they?
I am also I don't drink pop or anything. I'm allergic to lemons, so I usually just drink water anyways if I'm not drinking beer.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much, Alyssa, for being with us. Again, our guest tonight was Alyssa at Alyssa216 on Twitter. Really appreciate you being with us. And Mike, thank you as always. So for Alyssa, for Mike Rasinski, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been watching Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage